Hey everybody, it's Chris Eads, Wootini from the late gaygamer.net. I'm still keeping it alive with this podcast in spirit. Anyway, you may notice that I have a new t-shirt. That is because I demoed Tokyo Mirage Sessions on the Wii U at Nintendo New York. They had a special demo event, which normally I think I would have gotten an email about, and I would have replied and said, certainly I would love to come and check out the game. And then I would have been on a press list, and I wouldn't have had to wait in line, and everything would have been cool. Unfortunately, with the demise of the site, the email is also gone, so I don't get emails. So I had no way of going except like a normal person. And because I'm not that into the Persona games, I took my time and didn't sign up right away, because my friend was trying to get me to go, but I kept telling him, nah. And he's like, you should come. And I was like, okay, fine. And I went to sign up, like the week before, and discovered that it was already full. So I was like, oh well, sorry, can't go. And I'm like, it's fine, because then someone who really wants to go can go, and I didn't take their place, because then I would have felt bad. But I was on my way home from work, and got a message, and he's like, hey, I have a wristband, let me know if you want to come. And I was like, oh, fine. Because it's like one stop away on the subway, so instead of taking my downtown train to Brooklyn, I just went over to the other platform and went up one stop and went to Nintendo New York, and I tried out the game. Unfortunately, the demo did not sell me on Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I mean, I appreciate the style of the game, but it's still just, the demo was just, it's like, the demo was the part of the Persona games that I like the least. Because my friend Cam is like, hey, you don't have to worry about, like, going to school and, like, dating people and stuff. And I'm like, but that's the more interesting aspect of the Persona games to me, not running through randomly generated dungeon corridors that are, like, super boring looking, fighting random enemies and grinding up my levels so that I could beat the boss and move on to the next really boring looking randomly generated dungeon. Because the randomly generated dungeons have no personality because they're randomly generated. So there's no style, there's no thought put into the dungeons, they're just random corridors that you run through, and it's just tedious, and it makes me lose interest in the game after a while. It just becomes really repetitive and I just give up. So the demo of Tokyo Mirage Sessions was again running around in, I don't know if it was randomly generated, but it had no personality. They were just corridors with, there was stuff on the sides, but it was just repeated like endlessly down the corridor, so that's all not a lot of personality. And then there'd be random battles, and the battles are great. They're like super colorful, over the top, great animations, really dynamic camera angles. They were great. But, you know, and I did like a bunch of different battles and tried a bunch of different powers and stuff, and it's fine. If you like Persona, then definitely check out Tokyo Mirage Sessions. If you don't like Persona like me, this might not sell you on it. Just because it's essentially a Persona game. So, and sometimes when there's an RPG I'm interested in, I would like to try out the battle system, because in a RPG, you're going to be in a lot of battles. So it's really important that you like the battle system. So, you know, like, I've had a couple of RPGs where I've tried to play them, and then I realize, oh my god, I really hate this battle system, and then I never play the game again. But here I didn't need that, because it's literally the turn-based Persona battle system like before. I mean, there's some definitely new things in it, but basically it's the same turn-based system. So that's fine. So I would like to have demoed the other side and learned about the story and the characters, and maybe that would have drawn me into the game, because the battle system is not going to make me want to run out and buy this game. But that's just me. Your mileage may vary. Because I was interested in maybe getting it, although it would take me way too long to finish. But I would probably give up before I finished it, actually, because it's a Persona game. I'd get tired of it. Because the game that I'm really looking forward to playing, that was supposed to come out that same week as Tokyo Mirage Sessions, is no longer coming out that week. It has been delayed. And I am, of course, talking about No Man's Sky, which I had been looking forward to so much that I actually went and did something, which I don't do this very often. I took time off work for the release day. That's just because I never take time off work, and then I'll take a couple days here, a couple days there, and then I get to the end of the year and I have way too many vacation days left over, and I'm like, ah! Because I don't take, like, you know, a proper vacation and go somewhere or something. So I was like, you know what, let me just take, like, a day off, and I'll take a day or so, and I'll enjoy the release of the game, and I can just sit at home and play it all day, and it'll be really fun. Instead of being at work thinking, I could be exploring the universe right now, but instead I'm sitting at my desk. So, as soon as I took those days off, I should have known I jinxed it. Sorry. It's my fault that the game got delayed. But what's funny is, I was expecting a massive delay, but it turns out it's like, I think it's 7 weeks. It's coming out at the beginning of August. So, I'm like, that's not a big deal, so that's fine. Because at first, there were rumors of the delay, and then I heard rumors that it was only delayed until, like, Friday instead of Tuesday, and I'm like, well, what the hell is that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would they even bother? But then I was like, I'm going to wait until it's confirmed by Sony, and then it was confirmed, and they said, sorry, it's going to be August 9th, and I'm like, okay, fine. Like, that's not a horrible delay. Like, if it was 7 months, I'd be a little cheesed off, but 7 weeks, who cares? That's fine. Month and a half, no worries. However, apparently, some people didn't think that, and I am aghast. The developer of No Man's Sky apparently received death threats. I couldn't find any of the actual death threats online. I just saw his response. But I did see one of the death threats that was sent to the writer of the Kotaku article who broke the story, as though it's his fault that the game is delayed, because he was reporting on the rumor that he heard it was going to be delayed. Somehow he made it real by reporting on it. Oh my god. It just boggles my mind. I'm like, what kind of an over-entitled fanboy gamer culture are we living in where people think it's okay to send death threats to a developer because they're not quite ready to release their game when the fans expected they were going to get it? What the hell is that? It makes me not want to be a gamer. Because that's just offensive to me. Like, who thinks that way? Personally, I'd rather wait. It's only 7 weeks, like, who cares? Also, I'd rather wait and get it in August and be able to play it right out of the box, no problems, than to get it in June when they'd originally promised it, and then have to download some kind of, like, 10 gig patch file to fix the things they couldn't fix before they rushed it out the door. You know, I'd rather wait and have it be good than have it be rushed, you know? So, I will wait. It's not like I don't have other games to play. I've only played one of the 3 Uncharted games that came with my PlayStation 4. I still have to finish Dead Space on my, well, I'm playing it on my Xbox One, but it's a 360 game. But I think I'm really I think I've only got a few levels left in that to finish. I got distracted by my PS4, obviously. And then also, I've been playing Until Dawn, which is one of those PlayStation exclusives that I was looking forward to buying once I did eventually get a PS4. So, I've been playing that, because I love my adventure games, and I love horror movies, so that was always on my radar, and it wasn't enough to make me buy a PS4 to play that, but I knew that once I got a PS4, that was going to be one of the first games I bought. And since I thought I had until, you know, June, now I had it even longer, I'm like, well, let me go get this, because I finished Uncharted, and I figured, let me play something else before I start the next Uncharted game. So I've been playing Until Dawn, which is a lot of fun. It's a very specific kind of game, which not everybody's going to like, because it's an adventure game, so there's a lot of, you know, searching for clues, quick time events, dialogue choices, that sort of thing. But it's enjoyable. There's a lot of great jump scares. Because it's not like creepy scary, it's the jump scare scary, which is fine. It's entertaining. But the story starts out one way, and you think, okay, teenagers in a cabin with a slasher, fine. But then it starts to take another weird turn, and then there's like this other weird turn, and I feel like they've got like 3 or 4 different horror movies going on concurrently in this storyline, and there's just a lot going on. Like, I'm really close to the end now, I think, and it's just getting weirder and weirder, and I'm like, I don't know where it's going to end up. We shall see. But I'm enjoying playing it. The graphics are great. Like, the facial animation is fantastic. The body animation's a little sketchy. That motion capture, I don't know if they motion captured the bodies. I feel like they must have, because it doesn't look properly animated. It looks weird, but it just does. It's a little herky-jerky. But they do a good job with like the facial motion capture, like the acting of the eyes, and the lip sync is actually surprisingly good, which is usually where these things fall apart. And I look forward to playing it again and making different choices to see how other things will happen, and if other people will die, and who will live, and that sort of thing. Next week I'll talk about that being done. I'll have more to say about that. Oh, one last thing. This is already getting really, really long this week. I apologize. I keep having so much to talk about. I did want to briefly talk about XMen Apocalypse, which came out this weekend. It's weird. It's not a terrible movie. Well, it has a lot of problems. Structurally, it's not a great movie. But I enjoyed it. And I realized, my husband pointed out after the fact, he's like, the stuff that we liked about this movie, it's like fan service. He's like, look, here's Psylocke in her costume with her powers. Isn't that cool? And it's like, well, yes. And the first time you see it, you're all like, ah! But, like, do something with her, you know? Because that's my problem, is that the first movie in a superhero series is always going to be boring, because you spend like the first half hour or so even getting them their powers, and then another half hour or so getting them into a costume, and the last half hour or so is the actual superhero movie you came to see. And I understand. There are people coming to see the movie who don't know the characters, who need the setup. But, like, once you've done that setup, the sequels can just be, bam, here we go, jump in both feet. And the problem is that, like, X-Men First Class was all set up. And then Days of Future Past, which is still my favorite X-Men movie, because they sort of moved the setup into the middle. And it just flowed better. There was a better story, and they parceled out the action scenes, and it was more fun to watch. And then they started with this one, and because they keep jumping a decade for each of these X-Men movies, going from the 60s to the 70s to now the 80s, which is also weird because the characters do not look 20 years older than they did in the first movie, just saying. But then they don't age in the comics, so whatever. Still, it's annoying because the time has passed, and now it's the 80s, and they have to create a team again. So, once again, they don't create an X-Men team until the very end of the film. So, basically, the beginning of the movie is just lots of wheels spinning. And then the ending is spectacular, big action set piece at the end of the movie. But I wish that they had somehow parceled out the action, but they couldn't, I guess, because there is no X-Men team to fight the bad guys throughout the film. They didn't become the X-Men team till the end of the movie, so it's a lot of setup again, which is really annoying, and I'm hoping that if they do another one, and it's set in the 90s or whatever he does, that now that they are, spoiler alert, at the end of this movie, you have your characters who will form the X-Men. Hopefully, in the next movie, they will already be the X-Men. They can introduce a couple new characters if they need to replace people who didn't want to come back for their contracts or whatever. But then we could just jump right into the superhero action and not have to waste an hour, hour and a half setting up yet another X-Men team. Because that's getting really boring, Bryan Singer, I'm just saying. But if you like the X-Men, you should probably see it because it's a lot of fun. It's not as good as, like, you know, Civil War, but, you know, what are you going to do? It's still better than that horrible Fantastic Four movie, or, I honestly, I told somebody, I was like, it's not that bad. He's like, oh, it was terrible. And I was like, I'd still rather watch Apocalypse than any of the Wolverine solo movies. So, there you go. I'm going to shut up now and let you get back to whatever you were doing, and I'm going to go back to what I was doing, playing games. I will see you next week, and have a good one. Bye!